Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Mr. and ladies, welcome to Kinetic Aesthetic. I am your host, Jerm, and today we are going to be talking about the latest album by cloud rap connoisseur, pioneer, damn near. He might sound like a nigga that comes from Houston, but he's actually from Harlem. The most famous nigga from that borough, not named Sean Combs. I, of course, am talking about A$AP Rocky. Now, it has been a while since we've heard from Rocky. I want to say the last time we got an album from this man was like 2018. That was Testing. And it's been an eventful time for Rocky in his life. He has wifed up Rihanna. He's gotten her pregnant about 3 or 4 times and counting. They don't show any signs of stopping. And he's really just been winning at life. Rocky was, when he first came onto the scene, he was somebody who was looked at as, the future. He was somebody that was going to be really up there. He was going to be where a Drake or a Kendrick or a J. Cole is. But for a lot of different reasons and a lot of different ways, he ended up going a different route. He ended up choosing a lot of different shit other than rap to be his main focus. And all the more power to him. He's had success. He's carved out his own lane, and he's had a successful career, and that's not even to include wiping up Rihanna and having a billionaire baby mama. But we're not here to talk about the man's personal life. We're here to talk about his latest work. So that brings me to Don't Be Dumb. That is the name of his latest album. It is a double LP, but it's really just like 2 songs on the second disc. So I really wouldn't even think of it as that myself, but teach his own. And I've decided basically what I'm going to do when it comes to albums. I'm going to have a 3-word system. That is going to be a big part of how I explain and review it to y'all. And A$AP Rocky was the one who inspired this because 3 words came to mind when I just thought about how I would describe this album to somebody. And those 3 words are bold. Bold is the first one. When I say bold because Rocky is not afraid of, he's not somebody who's afraid to try different sounds. Where a different rapper, where even somebody like Kendrick Lamar might hear a sound and be like, you know what, that beat wouldn't work. I can't really make nothing that's dope to that. A$AP Rocky is going to take that as a challenge, and he's going to actually try. As I'll get into later, it doesn't really always work. It doesn't go that well for him, but he tries, and it's something that I respect about him. It's why this album, despite its length, despite how long it can feel at times, there was never a point where I was like, you know what, I don't even want to listen to at least 30 seconds of the next song. I wasn't at any point just in a rush to get it over with, if that makes sense. You really hear a lot of the bold song choices on just a lot of different stuff. There's one song where I think it's just called Shut the Fuck Up. The song that's got, it just sounds like a punk rock song that just had a half rapped verse on it. And it's certainly a choice to include that on your album, first off, but it's the sound that it's the type of thing that only a guy like Rocky would even have the balls to do and to put it on his album. And it's not my song. It was called Shut the Fuck Up. It's called by him and somebody named Slay Squad. It's not my cup of tea, like I said, but it is not the worst song in the world. And since we're on the topic of just the boldness, he had a lot of different features on here that just, again, Rocky is the only person that will come up with this and be like, you know what, I want to get whatever the fuck that Slay Squad song was. And at the same time, I'm going to want to get Gorillaz. I'm going to want to get will.i.am. He'll just go and get some out there shit. He's provocative, and he just tries to be different. And again, I respect that. But the big issue, and this is going to be the second word that I want to focus on, I'm going to call this album very, very shallow, because despite some of the interesting beats, despite some of the interesting sounds that Rocky tries to explore and dabble in, I just don't really ever feel like he's talking about anything interesting or just like that I really care to hear. There's a lot of the same old, my baby mom is this, I'm more jiggy and I'm more rich than these niggas. I'm a player. Like, he's got cool songs, but it's not really anything that you're really gonna be listening to that you actually want to hear and pay attention to what he's saying. It's just it's just shallow. It is cookie cutter. It's basic, just swag rap, and that's been Rocky's whole MO his whole career. And he got away with it at first, because like the same way I think a lot of niggas do, who have this sort of style of not really rapping about shit but having interesting sounds. It's okay in your first couple projects, but everybody has an expiration date. Eventually, your voice saying just bullshit and sounding cool while doing it stops having that same effect. Uh, I'm trying to find a rapper to compare him to. Rick Ross can somewhat suffer from this when you listen to him because he just talks about luxury rap and things of that nature. Even Jay-Z as well, somebody for me. Like, Jay-Z has his fair share of deep songs and deep cuts, but there's a lot of times where it's like, I'm not trying to hear Jay. Like, I wasn't trying to hear Jay on, what was that album? Manga Carta Holy Grail, just talk about being rich and shit like that. It doesn't appeal. Especially when I've heard you do this. Like, once I've heard you on Big Pimpin', I don't really need to hear you too much else. And Rocky suffers from that same sort of issue, but it's not that big of a deal. I'm not going to completely fault him for it. I've sort of just come to accept him for who he is. That's another big part of why he petered out where he did. But the third word that I am going to use for this album, that I'm going to use to describe it, it's a chore. It is a bit of a chore, and I and I know it sort of contradicts with the boldness claim that I put earlier and what I was saying earlier, but it's just ASAP Rocky. It's hard to have him hold you for a whole hour, and there was a lot of points where there was some. Again, it's the beats that are really doing it for me. It's the just trying to hear what he's going for in a song. But even then, even the songs that sound interesting on the first listen to, like Robbery with Doichi is a perfect example. That's a really good song. I think everybody should try to listen to that at least once. But at the end of the day, it's not something that you're going to go back to, and I don't think it's something that you're going to really save onto a playlist. The only song that I have on here that I have saved that I think I'm gonna save is the Brent Faiyaz song "Stay Here for Life." And there's one song on here called "Playa" that's just really, really jiggy and nice. I think anybody that like listens to that is gonna fuck with it. It's a nice little vibe. But with all that said, with those three, bold, shallow, and a chore, just being the words I use to describe it, well, the phrase, I guess you could say that last one, I'm gonna have to give this one just a 5 out of 10. And I don't say it to be harsh. I don't necessarily think it's really not the worst album in the world. But just when I really think about just how I'm not gonna come back to this album, I really have had no urge to even go back and listen to it since I've heard it for the first time. It it is what it is. I think Rocky just this is the album that really cemented just this is who Rocky is. This is the type of music you can expect from him, and that's really not saying much. Like I said, he's a shallow swag rapper, and there's nothing wrong with that. But he's not who you're going to be trying to go to if you're really trying to hear someone with some substance or with anything that matters. And he's going to have success. Like I said, there's still songs on here that are going to sound nice. I think a lot of people are going to be able to go on and listen to this album and find something. But I don't think there's going to be a lot of people who walk away from it feeling like they had a full meal, if that makes sense. You'll find something on the plate, but you ain't gonna want the whole thing. So, like I said, all in all, I'm gonna give this one a 5 out of 10. This is the definition of a mid album. I only had one song that I have really been taken away and actually been listening to more than once. But and other than that, I have yet to even really want to go back and try to listen to the album again. So I really didn't feel like I could give this anything higher than that. That's all I really got to say about this one. ASAP Rocky is still a talented artist. His baby mama's Rihanna. He's still wanting in life. He's not going to be hurting by getting a 5 out of 10 on his album. But with all that said, This has been Kinetic Aesthetic. This has been another edition of the Media Review Wednesday. I want to say thank you to everybody who has been liking, tuning in, following, subscribing, doing whatever it is they have to do to stay in touch with us on any platform here at Kinetic Aesthetic. It means the world, and it does keep me motivated to continue dropping this quality content for y'all. But once again, this has been Kinetic Aesthetic. You have a beautiful rest of your day and just continue to be a great person. It's your boy Jerm. I'm Nam.